All right. Hey everyone, Mark here. Thanks for joining me for another Greenbridge Investing Market Analysis. So this is a live stream. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join me. Those of you who know how the channel works, if you have a stock or a market that you would like to see analyzed, please share it in the chat now. So then to start here, I'm getting signal errors. So this thing may cut out. Hopefully this will stay stable hopefully this will stay stable while I'm doing this, but I'm seeing a problem here. Anyway, okay, so hopefully this thing will stabilize. But yeah, my ISP is not receiving enough or sending enough data to YouTube apparently. Hey HS, hey Joe. All right, so let's get started. I'm just going to give this a minute. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's get this thing started here. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult the licensed investment advisor. All right, no problem. So in this session, what I want to do first is I want to review our Bitcoin trade that we shared on Sunday. Okay, it's performing now, it's behaving properly, but it didn't start out that way. Okay, and now the herd is getting all excited. Everyone's, jumping in and reacting to this thing. Meanwhile, we were in it for 4 days. Okay, so I want to talk about that. Also, I want to talk about some stocks that are on the radar for next week. I mean, one of our trades of the week, Jumia, JMIA, just went off, what was it, yesterday? The trade actually became active, and we sent that out weeks ago. An interesting thing, someone said in our chat earlier, said, oh, I should just be a free subscriber and just get those. Well, sure, you can, but here's the thing. People that are free subscribers, they don't get a reminder or anything about Jumia. Someone asked about it in the chat the other day. And he said, yeah, sure, that thing is still active. Sure, the trade is still good. And a bunch of people got in on that trade, and Jumia is doing well. Okay, so also if there's any updates or any adjustments, free members don't get that stuff. Only our paid members do. As a free member, you get the trade idea, the entry, the stop, the targets, but then you're on your own from there. You have to manage that thing yourself. Any updates, you're not going to get. So that's an advantage to being an active investor in our chat room. Anyway, all right, so let's get into Bitcoin. And, again, if you have a stock or a market you'd like to see, please share it in the chat. Okay, and hey, Mike, and DJ, nice to see you. Also, I was going to say, my data stream seems to be okay now, but if it cuts in and out again, I don't know. Like it started right away. That's usually, I shouldn't see that like right away. Anyway, all right. So let's talk about Bitcoin. So first things first, we got into this trade. You guys remember here? I'm going to highlight it on the chart here. We got into this trade back here. This was Sunday afternoon. Okay, I saw the pin bar. I sent the trade out. And it activated at 10,675, and then what? We had that news about the stimulus package or whatever wasn't going through, and it reacted. People got nervous. In fact, I think I was conducting my streaming analysis on that day, and people were like, "Well, what about Bitcoin?" And there was nothing to do. We were long, and we had a stop in place. So it's either it goes to the stop or it does this. Now, a couple of clues. There were two clues that really kept us in this without, really not having to worry about it. I've been bringing this up over and over again. We all know that the broader picture, there's nothing bearish about this broader picture, okay? It's higher lows and higher highs. I don't know why some people forget about this or don't bother to look at it, or why anyone would short when we're in just a corrective structure relative to this gigantic bullish market here. But, people lose sight of it because they're watching their 5-minute charts and they're watching their oscillators on their 15-minute of the bigger picture. All right, so my video looks like it's cutting off again here. I'm going to just, every time I see it cut off, I'm just going to stop talking until it comes back on. This is from my, okay, here we go. It keeps going like on and off, on and off. All right. So like I was saying, that was the first clue, right? This thing favors bullish breakouts. We don't know when we're going to get one. We required a catalyst. Now today, the catalyst comes out, right? Square or whatever is investing whatever in Bitcoin. Okay, great. We didn't know that news. We didn't. You guys should be able to see what I type in the chat. No, Kev, I know you were kidding. I know you were joking. But I thought about it for a moment, you know, and you brought up a good point, Kev, you know, in the chat about the free membership thing, because it's like, you know, free members, there's a lot of things that they don't get. Yeah, I know, DJ. I know. It keeps going in and out, in and out. I'm going to type it in. I'm just going to try to get through this. It's my ISP. For some reason, it's at this time. I don't know why. Probably because the whole world is on the internet right now, and it's affecting the, you know, the data stream or whatever. Or maybe they don't like that I stream to YouTube. Or maybe they want me to pay more money for the subscription. I don't know. But anyway, okay, so my point is with Bitcoin, it looks like I'm stable now. My point is with Bitcoin is there's no reason to do anything now, but let this thing run. If you're not in it and you want to buy it now you're taking all the risk like the rest of the herd. Because, you know, this thing obviously has been faking out. Now, I mentioned one clue. I mentioned, you know, which was pretty easy. The broader trend is bullish. Okay, so a breakout was likely. But there was another clue that we could have picked on, and I'm going to point that out here. If you look at this consolidation here, let me draw like a box around it. This consolidation, right? If you count the waves, if you know anything about Elliott wave, these type of triangles will typically have 5 waves before their next move. And that's what we got here, okay? This first leg right here, this is wave 1, right? Then you had the pullback, it's wave 2, right? Then you had this little attempt up there, right, 3. Then you had this pullback again, 4, right? No, I'm sorry, I think I counted that wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It's basically A, B, C, D, and E. And once the E leg completes, I'm sorry, it starts from back here, right? Here, let me do this again. So this is A, right? This is A right here, A. And then this is B here, up here. And then this is C, D, E, right? So when we basically got long on E. And after that, you know, now it's up to the market to do the rest. There's no guarantee that it's going to break this resistance and go higher, but at least 5 legs were in, and if this thing's going to break, it should be breaking soon, one way or the other, right? That's pretty much how that goes. Now, of course, you could get a compound consolidation where it could start another leg of some type of consolidating move, but so far that's not what is going on, okay? So anyway, the point is, now we let this thing run and we see how far this thing can go. You know where our first target is, so it has some ways to go, but you know, a few hundred points is not that hard for this thing to move over a few days, you know, a day or two. So we'll see. Now, if this thing really builds some momentum, testing the 11,300, the 11,600 to 12,300 resistance zone is very reasonable, right? And that's why we have our targets distributed the way they are. Of course, we want to see if we can, if this thing breaks out further, we want to see if we can let a portion of it run. All right, now we don't know, again, if it can do that. It's just, that's what probability favors. You know, people don't realize, they're all caught up like in oscillators, and they're all caught up with all this information. It doesn't really mean a whole lot. And it's really about gauging probabilities based on context of certain things, like the broader structure, what this recent formation means to that structure and all that kind of stuff, and where we are relative to recent inflection points. Okay, people don't pay attention to that stuff because an oscillator doesn't tell you those things. All right, anyway, so that's Bitcoin. That's working out. We'll see how that goes. Now, another one I want to bring up real quick is NEO, N-E-O USD, because it's starting to perk up here. Now, we had the inside bar, we had the bullish pin bar yesterday, which I mentioned in the chat room, and we took out that high today. Okay, $17 was the high of yesterday's candle, and right now we're at $17.15. So that's not too much further. This is actually a buy signal. The thing is, the momentum is still kind of against this thing. So buying this thing right now would be aggressive, because if this corrective structure continues, you might see a lower low. This thing may take out 16 and test slightly lower, right? So you have to be prepared for that if you buy this thing now. The more conservative thing that you can do is you can wait until it takes out a lower high, like here. That's pretty much a lower high, and that's 18.15. So sure, you're going to miss a good portion of the move, but you're letting the market prove itself, okay? And a lot of times, letting the market prove itself, looking back, you're like, oh, I missed that, I could have made that. Right, but you don't count the times that you tried to get in that move, and then it fails, and then you get stopped out or take a much larger loss unnecessarily. So a lot of times you're better off just letting the market build that initial move and then take it, or let it build the initial move and then wait for the pullback. Okay, and if it never provides that type of price action, then you let it go. There's plenty of other opportunities, but this is definitely a location. Like I put in the chat room yesterday as well, good trades begin with locations. Okay, they don't begin with a signal. They don't begin with just a reaction to some kind of whatever. It begins with the location, and then we start evaluating from there, because it can blow through this location if it wants to, but this is definitely a location. So something to keep in mind there. I may even send this out, but we'll see how that goes toward the close. I was going to send it out yesterday, but again, I'm not too crazy about the fact that the momentum is not exactly reversed yet. Okay, so it's aggressive. All right, so that's NEO. Chainlink is another one that Andrew's been talking about, right? Look, this is a much better structure. Look at this. Now, talk about the initial move. Okay, this is the initial move. And we always say, there's no need to chase that. Look at all this opportunity you had to get involved and still mess around. And now look, buy signal today. Okay, took out that high, what is that, 841, and we are now at 951. This one's got some potential. So the thing is, we don't send all of these out. I believe Andrew sent out a Chainlink one like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. And I believe it almost became active, and then I think Michael asked about it, and we said you can adjust those orders lower. But this is a buy signal, and it's off of a higher low, and it's correcting a broad bullish structure. So this is a good candidate for a swing trade long. The thing is, if you're in Bitcoin, it's not a good idea to take them all. Okay, and that's what we talk about, because if Bitcoin fails, they're all most likely going to fail, and you're just in one giant Bitcoin trade. So you always have to consider risk first. People want reward first, which is human nature, I understand. But if you want to get somewhere in this game, you must consider risk first. So great setup. Everything is lined up here. This looks like a long, but and some people ask, well, why don't you send it out? Because we don't want to get everyone overexposed. So you have to be selective. You pick one. You're in Bitcoin, you take this or whatever. The thing is, Bitcoin is gone. Bitcoin, this one is still just about, you can get this one and still have good reward risk on this. So that's one thing to consider. All right. All right. So anyway, those are a couple I wanted to point out. Now, real quick, just let me mention this Jumia. Hold on a second here. I typed it into the wrong channel. Jumia. All right, look at this. So this was a trade of the week. This thing's at 1046 right now, had a high of 1062. Right, you could see our first target was 1050. So it went through the first target. Kev was joking in the chat room earlier, but like I said, our free members don't get reminders about this. This was sent to everyone, but only people in our active investor chat are going to get the updates or adjustments or answer any specific questions about it. While free members, you're on your own with it. You have your entry, you have your stop, you have your targets, and you have to manage that yourself. But nice move. This is a beautiful move. And with this type of momentum, again, this came out of nowhere, right? We called this trade, like a month ago or something like that? And it took some time, just like Workhorse. And now you're getting the momentum, right? Now everyone's reacting to it now. I'm sure there's some news on it. I don't know what the news is. It doesn't matter. But this thing went off for our members yesterday, right? Not today. Our members got in yesterday because the buy stop was at 850. And they had that order. You could have had that order in for a month. And yesterday's high was what? 863. So it actually went off. Actually, I think it went off a little earlier than that. Yeah, 8. So it actually went off a few days ago, maybe like a week ago. It actually activated that trade, and you had to sit in it there for a little bit before it went. But there was plenty of opportunity to get into that. Anyway, with this type of momentum, I'm anticipating reaching this, what is this, 1372 area is very within reason. That's only the middle of the range. So, that would be all 3 targets reached. In a situation like this, if this thing just keeps going, which is possible, maybe you want to try to let some ride. Maybe you cancel the 3rd target until you get a sell signal and see if it wants to go further. That's one thing to consider with Jumia. Okay, cool. All right, so let me see what else. Was there any other stocks I wanted to mention real quick? Yeah, this is one I've been looking at. Well, we all know NYCB. This one is fooling around a bit. This is a very aggressive options trade, and it's now fooling around a bit. Looking for this thing to reach the $10 area, something like that, maybe over the next month. So just something to keep in mind there. Western Union, check this out. I sent this one out yesterday. This is another free trade. This one actually activated yesterday. The order was what? 22.25, basically 22 and a quarter. We're right now at 22.34. It had made a high of 22.50. Now this is not a good candle right here, okay? But we have our orders in place. We just let this thing do its job, okay? May pull back, may provide another opportunity to get long. Western Union is a slow mover. It can take a whole month for this thing to move like 5 points. Just something to keep in mind, okay? So those were quick ones I wanted to go over. Real quick, let me just run through the NASDAQ. Now, look at this. So the NASDAQ's been tricky, right, with all this news coming out and all this nonsense and all this drama. And I've been talking about reaching this area up in here around the 12,000 area. Oh, nice, DJ. DJ, did you take that with options? Yeah, I'm going to talk about the pot stocks. Because, Tilray and CGC and all of them, like they started to pop too. And I was tempted to call something in Tilray because when that thing moves, it moves. I may still call an options trade in that. But we'll take a look at here in a second. But, CGC, the cannabis sector has been very miserable for a very long time. So it's like I don't want to get people caught up in that. If you look at ACB, I mean, ACB basically went from $14 back to like $4 in like 4 months. So it's like, I don't want people to get caught up in that nonsense. If I'm going to pick a winner, I want stocks that are doing well, something. Okay. So now look at this. So with the NASDAQ, this is going to help the bullish argument in our stocks. We have a higher low established here. People get overly bearish because they overreact to news. People don't know how to put news into perspective. Okay, this is why, like, I pay zero attention to news. I know I get my news from Andrew. He tells me what's going on in the world. I have no idea, and that's because I use chart structures to tell me what's going on. News is likely to give you a bias, whether you realize it or not. You're like, oh, that's negative news. Let me hold off, and Meanwhile, a chart may be giving you a different story, and you have to learn to trust the chart, which is not easy to do sometimes. Sometimes you do have to put some news in context, but what I'm typically looking for with news is overreactions, okay? Especially right now with negative news. It's overreactive. You have to keep something in mind with the stock market, okay? Here's the NASDAQ here. Let's pull up the S&P just for a quick comparison, because the S&P is really leading the way here. Look at that. The S&P is leading the way, not the NASDAQ. The S&P is doing much better. All right, and it has the higher low in place, which again is going to be good for stocks. Okay, when you have to understand, we're in an election cycle, and that means something for the market. What we have about a month or less than a month until the election, and the administration that's in power is going to do everything it can to keep this market strong. So any negative news that comes out is probably going to be absorbed. And they're going to come out with something. Like I said on Friday, people going short into this market, it's a very risky idea because any little ounce of positive news, you're going to see this. Okay, and that's what we're getting here. So am I anticipating a new high in the stock market? No, I'm not anticipating this. At least not before the election. Anything is possible, But what I am anticipating is a lower high or in a consolidation, like a range-bound market. Now, right now, we are in the vicinity of a failed high area, failed high location on this thing, okay? So here's what you have to keep in mind. Like I wouldn't be going long the S&P right now. Not a good idea. If you're in stuff, you know, like we're in stocks, great. Let it do its job. All right, we're going to be closing here in what, 20 minutes? Great sign to see this thing closing strong. But it's in a vulnerable location. Not a good place for new longs. All right, unless like certain things like Jumia, we've had that one. That's been on our radar for a while. Any other stocks like Andrew called one yesterday, HRTX, I think it was. I can't remember the symbol right now. DJ, maybe you could put it in the chat. We could take a look at that one. But you know, stocks that have these buy signals and the S&P is following through, great. But going crazy, you know, buying everything because, you know, the news and all that kind of stuff will be saying that the stock market's going higher and they're going to be throwing a party and all that, bad idea. So I am anticipating a move maybe up into this area. What is that? Like the 3520s, something like that. Now I'm looking at the CFD. It's not exactly the futures, but it's very similar. All right, it's possible maybe we even get a double top. But I'm anticipating uncertainty going into the election, just like we've been seeing, right? Some negative news comes out, knocks the market, and then the market comes back. So we can still get plenty of that. In fact, like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, one of my brokers, Interactive Brokers, sent an email citing specifically the election and saying that they're going to raise their margin requirements to you know, mitigate risk and all that kind of stuff and whatever. And they were citing the election because of the uncertainty and blah, blah, blah. So that means something, okay? So we may see a lot of uncertainty going into that, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get sell signals in this area. So it's just something to keep in mind. There may be very aggressive shorting opportunities there, possibly, like on the Qs and stuff like that, possibly, but now is too early. Anyway, so just want to point those things out. All right, enough about me. Let's see what you guys have to say. All right, I've been talking 20 minutes now. That's enough. Let's see what you guys have. So let's say, let me say hi, HS. Hey, Joe. Photo guy, nice to see you. Mike, DJ. Let's see, Carlos. Okay, so let me see the first symbol we have here. Apple. Joe's asking for Apple. All right, so let's take a look at Apple. So now here's the thing, something to keep in mind with a stock like Apple. Apple is the NASDAQ, pretty much, okay? Apple, whatever Apple does, Apple's going to affect the entire market. It's a market leader. So right now, this is Apple. Right off the bat, I mean, we can look at inflection points. The stock is clearly strong, okay? You have an inflection point there. I have some old levels on this chart, but they're not meaningful right now. They're just ignore those. So this chart's going to be a little confusing. I should erase them. But hold on. So here's the thing. We have a support right here at, what is that? 104. Basically, that's going to be the 100 level, right? That's a key inflection point, and price needs to stay above that if this market's going to stay bullish, right? Now, more recently, we have this little mini consolidation. I pointed this out on PayPal, and I noticed a bunch of other stocks that have these little mini consolidations. These are momentum continuation patterns right here. So this momentum and the broad trend is no question bullish. So if Apple takes out this high, 117.70, so basically starts pushing 118, you're probably going to see that next leg higher in Apple. And that's probably going to coincide with the S&P and NASDAQ pushing higher because they're strong, especially that S&P. So Apple's strong. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now, if Apple takes out the range low right here at, what is that, 112? If it closes below that, then you're looking at a pullback, right? A corrective type of move. Not a bear market, but a corrective type of move. You could get a buying opportunity in this area right here, which is like the 110, the high 110s around there, right? Or you can get the double bottom in that scenario. Of course, some negative news would have to come out to really get this thing to go back and revisit 100, maybe specific to Apple, or it could be market news. Because remember, whatever the market does, Apple's typically going to follow, okay, in general. Not exactly, but in general. So I like it strong, and it's going to be a reflection of the NASDAQ. Same with stocks like AMD, NVIDIA, Amazon, right? They should be similar. I mean, let's take a real quick look at Amazon. I mean, look at Amazon, right? Again, these are FANG stocks, right? And that's basically a reflection of the market. Mini consolidation right there. And we're trying to break out. Didn't break out today, but it's trying, right? The NASDAQ was relatively weak compared to the S&P, but all you need is some news and these things are moving. There's nothing bearish about them. So it's the same deal, okay? If you go further, it's possible that AMD can test this high. What is that? The mid 90s, 94, 95 area? It's possible to test that high, but it's risky. If you buy this thing now, what's the risk you're taking? This thing closed at 86.29. It's possible that this thing can, correct and go back to like 83, 82, back. It can do it. So why buy high when you can possibly get a better price? So I wouldn't touch this thing now. If you're in it, great. Hopefully you locked in some profit. You took something off the table, and I would just let this thing try to work with the strong market, because if the market goes higher, this thing should follow. It's generally a market stock. Okay, so that's AMD. So I got that, covered Apple. All right, let me see what else. So Carlos, take a look at oil. Sure. So oil's been, some people have been mentioning oil. Let's take a look. WTI USD is the CFD for oil. Now, actually, is this the right one? No, I don't like this one. I want the other one. I think it's USD WTI. I want the one with the negative there. That's the one. They're pretty much the same. I just like this one because it's more reflects reality when it went to those negative numbers way back when. Now, we're talking about bearish oil, short oil, blah, blah, blah. But, the energy sector on the S&P, obviously, it's being driven by this. And it found an inflection point. Oil is not bearish, right? This structure right here is not bearish. It corrected a bit. It found a support at basically 37. And it recovered nicely off that support. It's a double bottom. I wouldn't short oil, okay? Not with this formation, no way. It's not only that, but it's closing strong today, or I think it may be even closed right now. Closed strong on this breakout high. That's nothing but strong. It's basically trying to take out that high. This thing's strong, okay? So I wouldn't short this. I would just, if you're not in it, there's really nothing to do with oil. If you want to buy the breakout, it's risky, because if oil's in a range, then it's possible to retest that 37. It's possible. If you want to buy the breakout and hope for the best on this momentum, I mean, you can try that. Perhaps you could use a smaller time frame chart if you're using the CFD, and try to use like these lows, 39.74, 39, basically 39 and a quarter or 39 is where you would define your risk from. And if this thing turns quick, it should take that out and you'll be stopped out. But that's where you're going to be defining your risk from. I usually don't like to buy these type of breakouts when it's near a significant resistance, which is what, 43 and a half. We closed today at 41.22. So here's the question you have to ask yourself about oil. Is it worth the risk? All right, if you buy this breakout right now, can oil break beyond this level? It's possible, but you're probably going to see some trouble there. So it's a good place to at least have a target. So if you buy this thing right now, okay, let's say you buy it at 41 and a quarter, and where are you going to put your stop? Are you going to put it at 39 and a quarter? So you're going to risk $2 to hopefully make what, $1.50? Hopefully. That's really, I don't know, the reward risk just is not great here. You're better off waiting for a pullback and a higher low, or a test of that 37 support. Your reward risk would be much better, and your probability would be much better too. Okay, so just something to keep in mind there. This thing is strong though, so it's a very aggressive trade if you take it long. All right, so that's what I think of oil, which also says something about energy stocks. So let me see what else we have here. All right, Carlos, so I hope that answers your question. Yep, all right, Kevin, I know we went over that. Let's see, okay. Roku and Workhorse. Okay, DJ, let's take a look. Roku. I've been watching this stock. I was going to mention something about this today. Definitely stay away from this thing, okay? This is an island reversal. These are rare. You don't see these very often. It's like basically isolated candle. It's a pin bar and it's gapped. not a good place to be buying. All right, if anything is the top, that's a top. So it's unbelievable that it's this high, but I wouldn't touch it here. I'd wait for a retrace. Let's look at the inflection points. You have one here, right? And you have one, let's see, around here somewhere, probably around there. So you're looking at inflection points of 186 over here. Yeah, I'll draw a little box there. 186 and 166. That's a long way from where we are now. This thing closed, it's closing at 223. That's a lot of risk. Okay, so I know DJ, I know what DJ's thinking though. He's not thinking long. He's probably thinking about buying a put. If I know DJ by now, he's probably thinking about buying a put on something like this because of that potential retrace. But yeah, I mean, if anything, if there's anything to do with Roku, aggressive, that would be it. You know, an out of the money put and see if this thing gives you the dramatic pullback. But that's a total counter trend trade, and it could totally not work. Because, you know, it's possible that this thing doesn't really pull back that much, finds a higher low in the gap somewhere and goes higher. So I wouldn't touch it long. And, you know, I'm not a fan of shorting stocks, especially in this environment. But if you must short, the best way to do it is with long puts, because you minimize the gap risk, meaning, you know, you have that put. If this thing gaps higher and just goes nuts, your premium is all that you have at risk, and it just goes to zero, and that's that. You know, you lose whatever you invested in initially. Also, it ties up a lot less money than trying to short a call or trying to short the stock outright. So just something to keep in mind there with Roku. This is just ridiculous, this type of stuff. So great if you're long. You know, if you're long, hopefully you're locked in some profit here. Definitely a place to take money off the table and then see where it goes. But hopefully, you know, you got something off the table there. Anyway, so that's Roku. All right, Workhorse. So Workhorse was a big winner for us. You could see the trade there. I still have it on this chart. Right, we got this thing at 15.85. It went to 30. Took like 2 months, but eventually it got there. Right. This one would have been a nice options one too. So Workhorse is trying to find stability here, and you know the same with Nikola. I was watching Nikola here. Let me just pull that up real quick. This one's starting to perk up a bit too. This one may be a nice options play. But back to Workhorse. This is a triangle, okay? And it's trying to find its, you know, it's trying to do something here. I still think it's a little early to get involved in this. It may break. Now, a conservative thing to do with something like this, if you want to get back in the Workhorse, is wait for a break of this level right here, which is what, 25.35, because at that point, you will have a double bottom established. You will have a double bottom, you know, basically here at that point. And that's where you could measure your risk from, which would be what, 22.75. So you're looking at about maybe $2.50 to $3 worth of risk, and then see where this thing goes from there. I mean, a reasonable target would be up in the, 30 area, and then see if it can break that. Obviously, if the stock market's strong, and, you know, this thing's obviously following Tesla and all those, the car makers, all those new car maker type of things. If they have a strong move, this thing will probably follow. If anything, these consolidation patterns, these triangles, are trend continuation patterns, okay? And this trend, as you can see, is not bearish, okay? So if this thing breaks, it's at least, it is within reason to test this high, which is basically 30.5. So I like it generally as a long. I just think it might be a little early to take it now. But, you know, maybe a good options trade. Maybe you want to do something with that with options. But technically, on the conservative side, I'd wait for the break of this previous high over here of 25.39. Basically, you could, you know, you could put the buy stop at like 25.50 for something like that, okay? Maybe we'll even call that if it doesn't. I don't know, as an aggressive trade. We'll see. But on that note, you know, Nikola, we've been watching this one carefully because this is another power, I like to call them power poppers, because when they pop, man, they go, right? And then everyone bangs it out because they don't know what they're doing, and all the Robinhood traders and blah, 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 and then it finds a bottom, and that's the time to buy it, okay? At its lows, not at the highs. Now, this situation with Nikola, if this thing can pull back and give a higher low or a double bottom, that would be a nice buying opportunity on this thing, okay? it made this little mini consolidation right here. You can see this, but that really, it's so small. It doesn't really, it's not very meaningful. It needs to clear a resistance. And the first one is like 30.5, because this section where it is right now can easily turn into a lower high. This can turn into a lower high. So it's riskier to buy it here, right? That's why we haven't really said much about this. But we get the higher low in a reversal or a double bottom in reversal. This one is definitely on the radar for a long. Okay, so anyway, I just want, since you mentioned Workhorse, I figured I'd throw Nicola in there because it's definitely on my radar. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Okay, so TV. Kev, let's see, TV. Grupo Televisa, okay? I think if that's the right one. By the way, if you mention like an altcoin or something, I'm just saying this now, if you mention like an altcoin, just make sure you put USD after it so I don't spend 20 minutes on a stock that you don't want to see. So TV, Kevin's question is, this thing's on the breakout. Is this a good time to buy? Well, so let's look at this inflection point right here, Kev. You got that. I mean, nice price. It's like a nice inexpensive stock. You better believe this is going to be on day trader radars. You're dealing with that inflection point. You also have your next resistance is up there, which is like 10.5. So you got some potential. The thing is, I don't like the location because this thing can fail here. It's possible. Now, theoretically, with this type of breakout, it's the fourth time it's touching. There's a good chance it'll clear it this time, right? That's usually, if it keeps trying and trying, the more it tries, the greater of a chance it's going to break, especially after 3 times. But the thing is, what if it doesn't? Okay, what kind of risk are you facing? Well, this thing pulls back. This thing can easily pull back to the low of this little range here, which is right there. So $6. I'd rather wait on something like this. You're chasing it, right? I'd rather wait. It could go, it could break, but this is a function really of risk. If I'm going to get involved in something like this, especially if I'm going to use options or something, I really want to get a good price. So either we get a higher low, which would put you back in the middle of the range at around, what is that? The 6.5 area, something like that. Or maybe you test 6. Maybe this thing, all these longs, they banging it out and they try to push it, lower. They overreact and you get the failed low, which can maybe even take you back into the 5s, right? What is this, the high 5s, mid 5s? So those are the points I would wait for an opportunity in this thing. And you know what, Kev? If you don't get it, if it never gives you that opportunity, no problem, because there'll be another opportunity at some point. What if this thing runs to like 850 and you're like, I should have bought it, okay? But then it pulls back on some dumb news, and next thing you know, it pulls back to this level where it is now and develops a higher low. That would be an opportunity to get back in on a pullback, because this old resistance at that point would be a new support, most likely. So you can at least measure risk from there, and that would be a better price. So there's plenty of opportunity if you just wait, okay, instead of chasing. So I would hold off on this one, but if you're aggressive and you're like, I gotta have it, okay. Well, one other thing you can consider is small shares. It's a cheap stock, so it's not like it's gonna, how low this is gonna go to 0, right? You buy 100 shares, you're gonna lose, $700, okay. So, I mean, it's not a huge. It's better than buying a $200 stock and watching it go to 100, or buying a $40 stock like CGC and watch it go to 7. But yeah, so one thing you could do with something like this is smaller shares. If you really want some and you want to buy that breakout, one way to compensate, smaller shares. So if you normally buy 100, buy 25 shares. Pulls back, no big deal. You're just going to buy some more, right? And you don't have a full position anyway, so you're not going to feel much pain. Okay, it's going to be a lot less painful, and that makes you a stronger hand. All right, so thanks for bringing that one up. So you have to decide. Sweet Life, hey, nice to see you. Kron, okay, DJ. So these pot stocks. Let's talk about the pot stocks. Kronos, look at that. Okay, these stocks have been garbage for a very, very long time. Man, this would have been a nice options one. When they go though, they go. So I wouldn't chase this, because most likely this will turn to garbage again like it has. Let's look at the inflection points. You got one right here. It's just basically at an inflection point. Old support, new resistance. You also have one back in this area here. what is that, the 6.5 area. So I wouldn't chase this. Just like that one that Kev brought up, I would wait for, if you're going to get involved in these again, wait for a better price. You'll most likely get that better price. Wait for the pullback. Wait for the double bottom. Wait for the higher low. Don't buy the vertical candle. Again, let's take a look at CGC. I mean, this one's a follower. This is not a leader. Kronos is a follower. CGC is the leader. Look at this. Man, you want to know what's funny about CGC? Just a few days ago, right, it broke this $16 support, and boy, it looked ugly, right? It got the lower high over here. Look at this. Look at this. Look, lower high. And I remember thinking, man, I should, because I own some of this, I should buy a put or something. Right? Good thing I didn't buy the put, because this thing faked out everyone. Okay, lower high, faked everyone out, and boy, ran in everyone's face. Okay, so that's why with these, it's like you have to be patient. At some point, they'll get back in the spotlight, and maybe this is the beginning of it. With these vertical candles, I mean, wow. What's this thing up $2 today? That's huge for this thing. So to get back into these, I would wait for a better price, like I said, because when they're out of play for months at a time. Months and months and months, and they're just not fun to watch. Look at Tilray. Look at this, right? They're all look good now, but if you weren't in this, and there's really no signal to get in this, and like I said, I saw some changes occurring, but I didn't want to call them because I'm like, man, these things suck. Look at ACB, right? Look at this one. So this one, we tried playing this. We had just missed this move, right? It was a reverse split, blah, blah, blah. And then there was this reaction, and that was back in May. And since May, this thing went from basically $20 to $4 or $4.50, and now it's starting to perk up. What a piece of garbage for 4 months. I don't want our members getting involved in that kind of garbage. So that's why, if you're going to pick one of these, don't pick ACB. Tilray, because that can move if it moves. And I would wait for a pullback. Same with Kronos and CGC. Keep in mind, CGC fundamentally is the best of all these. Okay, Andrew, you can ask him about it. He'll tell you, he'll talk to you about it for 3 hours, about how great they are and what they do and who owns them and all this other nonsense. I don't care about that stuff. I just care about momentum, and this is a good start. I'd wait for a pullback. The key level right here is 15 and a half area, or somewhere near there. Any pullback could be a buying opportunity, but I would wait. Okay, so that's what I think about the cannabis sector. Thanks for bringing that up. So, so DJ's been adding a few shares every week. When should you stop adding? Well, you don't want to. There's no need to add on vertical moves like this. If anything, DJ, on a vertical move, you should probably distribute some. Just lock some profit in. If you've been buying at all these lows, you have nice profit in these things now. Take a little off the table. Start if you want to put them, put it back on at lower prices. Now don't sell a large portion because there's no reason to sell. There's no sell signal in this thing right now. This thing's vertical, so it may run another $1 or $2. It's possible, okay. But if you're going to lock in some profit, I don't know. Let's say you've accumulated 100 shares, okay. Sell 15 shares. Something like that. Just lock in something and then see where the rest of it goes. If it pulls back, you buy those shares back, plus a little bit more maybe. All right, so that's what I think about those. Good question. And by the way, let me just throw this in there now. If you guys, anyone that's new to Greenbridge here, please make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Also, press the like button if you like the video, if you like the work that I'm doing here. And also, if you can, please share the video with your social network, because it's a big help, especially for me, because I have to do all that work, and it's not easy. So I would really appreciate that. And also check out our website, greenbridgeinvesting.com. We do have swing trade signals by text and by email, portfolio management ideas, and a chat room where we update a lot of our ideas and talk about a lot of different things about the market and provide insight and analysis. Also, we have the trade of the week, which is free for all our members. You saw a couple of examples here, right? I don't think Workhorse was a trade of the week. Jumia is a recent one. Western Union, Hibbett Sports, FOUR, which is pay for shift or something like that it's called. Unbelievable moves in those things. Anyway, those we send out to free members. So you sign up as a free member, everyone gets that email. I send it out after we do our podcast, the Talking Markets with Mark and Andrew show. And I send that either Tuesday or Wednesday every week, so you have at least an opportunity to see how our trades work. Okay, so let's move on here to the next thing. All right, let me see what I have here. So we talked about Chrono. So Jamia, no, I wrote that. All right, so Sweet Life, dollar, so USD TRY, that's an unusual one. The Turkish lira, I don't get that request very often. Wow, the dollar is definitely strong against the Turkish lira. Definitely wouldn't want to be owning Turkish lira right now. But here's the thing. So with a move like this, you can't touch this. I mean, it's a bullish chart. Look how strong this chart is. This thing since March, right? The March low, this thing's been just nothing but higher lows and higher highs. And you're at a peak right now. So if you're in it, great. You just hold on to the dollar. All right. If you're in it, you just hold on to the dollar until it starts taking out supports at least, or at least wait for a bearish candle. You have nothing here, just bullish candle after bullish candle. If you get like a bearish candle close or something, then, you know, I'd consider maybe getting out of some. I wouldn't short this thing, and I wouldn't buy it until it pulls back to some kind of reasonable inflection point. The first one, I mean, look, this is an inflection. I'm going to point them out right here. You got this one, and you have like this one, which is like a minor one. And then you have like this one here. Those are your support points that you're dealing with right now. And your first one is, where is that? What is this here? The 774 area. So if you're interested in buying it, I would wait at least until that area and see how price behaves in that area. Obviously, the lira, the Turkish lira, is going to have to get strong against the dollar somehow in order for that to pull back. Okay, and maybe you'll get a buying opportunity. Otherwise, I'd leave it alone. Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Okay, nice move. Yeah, so we talked about Tilray. I like Tilray. And that may be a possible options trade. So, okay, cool, DJ. So you're in Western Union. Hopefully that thing works out. It's a slow mover. Yeah, Sweet Life. I get to them. You just have to, he's new, or she's new. I don't know if he's or she, but I get to them. Okay, so DJ, options. Oh, okay, no problem. No volume on the options. How far out are you looking at those options, DJ? Hey, Draken, thanks for joining us. Please check the dollar pumping too much, or Turkey has seriously, yeah. All right, so that's again. So you guys bringing up the forex pairs. You know, there's a lot of factors that can move price, but I'm only interested in price momentum. I really don't care why they do what they do. So when I see something like this, clearly something is driving the dollar higher and driving the Turkish lira lower. So I just stay out of its way and wait for an inflection point. So Kev, HRTX is the one that Andrew called yesterday, right? He sent this one out as a swing trade to our members yesterday. And what do we have here? So, I mean, I could see why, right? He's going for the higher low. This is a nice situation here. You have this higher low right there, basically, right? It's coming off of a broad higher low, basically from this inflection point. It's coming off of that. Now, today, there wasn't much follow through, okay? I mean, that's not a great candle, but that's okay. You know, this thing still, with a strong stock market, whatever, this thing just needs a little push. These pharmaceutical companies, Heron Therapeutics, great. You know, they're pretty much news driven. So, you know, some news will come out of nowhere, and next thing you know, it'll be taking out this 16.5 high. So you just have to be patient with these. But as long as it can stay above this higher low, even if it fools around for a few days, it's got a good structure. It's got a good reversal structure. So I would definitely just be patient with that one. All right, so thanks for bringing that one up, Kev. Right, okay. Cool, thanks, Mike. So DJ, okay, yeah, so let me see. I'm reading the comments. What are your thoughts on shorting X? All right, so U.S. Steel. This is an old one. Now, U.S. Steel. Well, for one, it's a market stock, right? This is pretty much, it's going to move like what, with the industrials, most likely. Basic materials, I believe this would be considered. So you're at a range high here. You have a bearish pin bar. You do have the recipe for an aggressive short. Okay, you have it, but you're fighting a strong market, right? That S&P is on its way higher. Now, if the S&P turns, this thing is turned first. The market's closed. So I'll give you an idea for an aggressive short. But the idea, it's aggressive again because you're going against a lot of things here. The low is 842. So for one, it'd have to take out that low of 842. Where's this thing at? 853. And you'd be looking for like maybe a move back into the middle of the range, something like that. Expecting this thing to break support or something, which is, in this range low area, which is what, 676. I mean, you're asking for a lot. I think it's unreasonable because you're fighting a strong market. Okay, if we had like a weak market and the S&P was at a resistance and this thing is at a resistance, okay, fine. But and hopefully, if you're going to do it, it's probably a good idea to do it with puts than shorting the stock outright, because you never know. Some news can come out and this stupid stock can gap up $1, right? And then you get caught in that. No reason for that. So, shorting the puts at least protects you from that kind of gap risk. You're only risking whatever you pay for the put. If you don't know options, then forget it. Just don't even bother. If you want to short the shares, you're just going to have to take your chances. But you do have a sell signal if that low is taken out, and you are in a potential area where you have a range high and a possible lower high or failed high situation. So it's not an unreasonable idea. It's just, remember, here, I'm going to pull it up. You're fighting, you're fighting this. Okay, and if this keeps pushing, U.S. Steel is probably not going to work out very well as a short. Okay, it may not go a whole lot higher, but it may not go a whole lot lower. So just something to keep in mind. All right, OMG, HS. Let's take a look at OMG. So I'm a little surprised at OMG. I thought that this thing would be doing better with a Bitcoin pop, but you never know with these things, right? So we have our inflection point here. We have one here, and it's developing a higher low. So this is not a bad place to buy it. You have today's candle is basically an outside bar, and it took out yesterday's high. So it's a buy signal. You have a higher low off of this failed low structure that goes back a few weeks there, right? And off the initial move. So it's not bad. Plus, you have Bitcoin and everything trying to recover or trying to break its range there. Not a bad idea. Just keep in mind, not a good idea to buy all of them. Like if you buy OMG, you probably shouldn't be buying NEO and the rest of them. It's like own one or two of them, see if they give you the move, especially if you have Bitcoin, and then let them do their thing. It's all one big Bitcoin trade. Right? Now, this is not a bad place for a long, and if it goes, you have some potential at least to retest the $3.76, $4 area. So in terms of reward risk, you're looking at, if you buy this thing at $3.33, you're putting a stop at basically $2.75-ish, something like that. You have to give it some room. So you figure you're risking, less than $1, and you should be making at least $1 or more on the next leg higher. And on the next leg higher, it theoretically should take out this $4 area or $4.50 area. It should make the higher high from a higher low. Okay? If it fails, that's not good. That means it's range bound. All right? And it's a good idea. If it even attempts, you should look to take some money off the table in these areas, because that's where the selling activity is likely to appear. You should see red candles. If it's just all green, then you try to hold on. But that's how I would deal with something like that. I like it as a long. I just don't want to be overexposed. Okay, that's why you'll never see us call OMG, Bitcoin, Monero, Chainlink, the whole group in one trade. It's the same trade. Although on 2 weeks ago we sent out a bunch of them, but we always tell our people pick one. Okay, so thanks HS. Let's see what else we got. Solar stocks are on the rise. Photo guy mentioned. So solar stocks like Run. Okay, this is a crazy. Look at this. Well, this one's not on the rise. It was on the rise. Sunrun. Look at this crazy thing, right? It's just bullish, 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 and now we got the pullback. Keep an eye on this one, RUN, because when this thing finds a support, this is probably a good long candidate, and that's your first inflection point at 63.5. This thing right now is at 70. So this thing has some room to pull back further. Keep this one on your radar. What's another solar one? Is Reggie a solar one? It's Renewable Energy Group. Look at this. This was a trade of the week also that never actually activated, but I know some people that made money on this anyway. All right, they got involved anyway, and it went through its targets, right? Target 3 was 58.35. This thing's at 62.10. It's closing at $60.20. It went as high as 62.10. It's crazy. But they need to pull back a bit, right? So I wouldn't be buying these things now. It's too early. Something like Reggie, your first inflection point is 48.5 area, something like that. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. It could possibly find a higher low earlier than that, but it needs to prove itself. These areas right here are not the place to buy. The areas right now are a place to take profit. All right, so that's the thing on solar stocks. I like them. Just got to wait for a better price. So Kev, go figure. Roku would produce an island reversal. I like Roku. I like Roku the product, but I hate. Yeah, Roku's a pain. But you know, if you catch that thing right, it can be very pleasurable. Okay. Yeah, Nikola options are expensive. I've been looking at some. They are expensive because they know the people that are selling those options, they want to get paid for the risk because they know that this thing, when this thing goes, you know, it's going to be like another workhorse type of thing. So they're expensive, but that means you probably have to go further out of the money, especially if you're going to buy time. Like I wouldn't buy anything less than 6 months on this thing or even a year on this thing. Give it plenty of time because those options will be worth a lot if this thing goes. The mistake you don't want to make is you don't want to, you know, buy a month or two out and this thing just wastes time because those are going to be expensive and you're going to just watch it melt away. All right. Okay. Hey. Yes. So Turkish lira, I went over that one. Cool. VET USDT. Okay, HS. Let's see. What is that? Never heard of that one. Let's see. Okay. So we have a failed low situation. Let's pull up the inflection points. We got one over here, which it's bounced off of one, so that's a good sign. We have one around here. Okay, so those are the nearest ones that are in play. You have a failed low situation. Here, I'm going to highlight that here. This is a failed low because you got this candle, strong candle close off the inflection point, and it's not much lower than these previous lows. So that's a bullish sign. Also today, it took out yesterday's high, which is what? Basically zero, it's just over 1 cent. So it's a long signal. It's a long signal. Now, I don't know much about this coin. I don't know what they do. I don't know how well this is going to follow Bitcoin if Bitcoin goes somewhere, but it's poised to go higher. So this would be an aggressive long. There are a couple of things you can do with something like this. I mean, it's cheap. So if it goes to zero, I mean, that's one, you could just hold it to zero, right? And use zero as your stop. That's one way you can play it. With some of these really aggressive coins, you have to do that because there's a lot of noise in them, and trying to pinpoint every movement on these charts sometimes on these is usually not, can sometimes just not be worthwhile. But so you can do that, which is one way, or you can let this initial move develop, okay? Wait till it takes out this resistance here, which will prove that the momentum is now turning bullish at that point, which means you're going to have to miss like a good, what is that? A good, I don't know, 1/4 cent. I don't even know what that is. It's so small. But you'd have to miss that, let it break out, let it pull back. That would be a more conservative way to enter. That can take, you know, days to develop, something like that. You can wait for a double bottom off of something like that, or you can wait for a double bottom off of this now, like a little mini one. Those are the different options that you have, or different choices that you can wait for. Perhaps you can take a small bite now and then wait for one of those scenarios and then add at that point. You know, because with these type of things, you're trying to capture a broader move, right? You're not going to try to hold this for like a fraction of a penny. You know, you want to see if this thing could run like a whole penny. What is this? You know, to like up here, to like 2 cents, which would be a big move for this thing, right? So obviously you're going to have, you know, a lot of tokens or coins for something like that. But anyway, so to answer your question, as far as just initially, it's a buy signal off of an inflection point. So it has some potential to go higher. I'm just not a big fan of these really inexpensive coins. They're usually this way. They're like penny stocks, you know. But if you like it, you're familiar with it, sure. So you have a couple of choices there. Thanks for bringing that one up. All right. So Photo Guy, are you? So I'm always looking at daily charts, Photo Guy. I don't usually look at weeklies unless, you know, I need to check a particular thing, but I usually get all my information from a daily chart. Okay. Oh, okay. No problem. Oh, wow, you're checking this out from your phone. Cool. Okay, so let's see. DJ, February and May. So real quick, DJ brings up a good point. So DJ mentions the wide spreads. Are you talking about Nicola, DJ? Which one are you talking about? He brings up an important point because I noticed this on Jumia also, right? Jumia the other day, because someone had asked about it, I think it was Bella, had asked about Jumia options, and I was talking about a $12 call, but like a year and a few months out, and the spread on that thing was like 50 cents wide, okay? And when you see those situations, the first thing I told Bella was like, don't pay the spread. If you want to get this thing, if you really want to get the option, if you really want to get the call and you really want to get it now, one thing you can do is you could bid the middle of the spread. A market maker will fill you at the middle because it's worth it for them, okay? Or if you want to get the low, you want to get the actual bid price, you just put your order at the bid, and if there's any fluctuation in the price, you'll get filled. Oh, okay. He's talking about Western Union. Well, I'm surprised that the spreads are wide in that thing because it's, you know, it's not like a nutty mover. But the point is, so you're looking at February and May. Okay, so there's a lot of time in them, and they're probably not heavily. There's probably not a lot of volume in them, right? So you're going to see wide spreads. So again, there's a couple of ways. If you want it right now, you bid the middle of the spread. You're not going to get the best price, but you'll probably get filled. But you're also not going to get the worst price. You're not going to pay the full spread. If you want to negotiate, right, and try to get a better price, you put it on the bid. Like I said, if this thing fools around, and this thing has plenty of opportunity here to fool around, you know how these things go. They'll fill you on that bid most likely. It may not be today. It may take a couple of days. I had, you know, DJ, I had an order on NYCB, and it took a week for them to fill me at 5 cents. I got filled on the bid. They filled me, but it took a week, okay, for that thing to fool around. And here, like on NYCB, we're talking about the $12 calls, which are way up here. And, you know, I'm buying a lot of time, and it fooled around a little bit, and they filled me at 5 cents. That's my risk on that one. So the point is, when you bid for it like that, don't expect a fill right away. It may take some time, okay? You need some fluctuation in the price. Or if you think you could get a better price, like Western Union, maybe Western Union will pull back 50 cents to $1 possibly, right before it goes higher, possible. So you can put your options bid 75 cents lower or something like that on the one you're interested in, and maybe it'll go there and fill you, okay? So that's something to keep in mind. Or you can do it with, if you're gonna buy multiple contracts, you buy one contract at each strategy, right? You buy one in the middle of the spread, you buy one on the bid, and then you put one below the market and see if they fill you there for a third one, right? So at least you have some, and you can also get some at a better price. Remember, your risk is limited with long options, but you have to make sure you buy a lot of time, because if the thing doesn't work out, you'll have an opportunity to recover at least partial or half of your premium, something like that, instead of watching it go to zero. If you buy front month, then you're asking for trouble, okay? Hey, no problem, DJ. Like, I'll do that, or I'll even put it below the bid. If I don't like the bid, I'm like, I think this thing will fool around a bit. I'll put it 50 cents lower. And if the stock fools around, a few days go by, next thing you know, you look in your account, oh, look, I got that option. Someone filled me. So just something to keep in mind there. But one thing you definitely don't want to do is take out offers. There's just no need to. You're just giving the market maker what they want. Usually when it comes to options, you're dealing with a market maker. You're usually not dealing with other traders in that type of situation. And they'll fill you when certain things are worthwhile to them, they'll fill you. Okay, but it has to be advantageous to them. That's where they'll fill you if you bid the middle of the spread. because they can actually recover that on the bid much easier than you can. Okay, anyway, so cool. I think I answered everyone's questions. Wow, I've been talking for a long time. Okay, an hour and 6. All right. So let's see. We got still some people here participating. Cool. So do I have any other questions? Great questions, everyone. Have I missed anyone's questions? Let me see. Have I missed anyone's question? If I missed your question, please put it in the channel so I can answer it. If you're new to Greenbridge Investing, by the way, while you're putting the symbols in, if you're new to Greenbridge Investing, please make sure you register or you subscribe to the YouTube channel here so you get an email notification when I do one of these. Also, make sure you check out actually press the like button and also share the video with your friends if you can. Check out greenbridgeinvesting.com. We have swing trade signals by text and by email. We also have portfolio management ideas, and we have a chat room where we update a lot of information and share a lot of insight and stuff like that each day. Now, I'm going to share a link here for those of you that may be new. We do have a 7-day free trial. I don't know if YouTube is going to like this link because people have complained about it before. I think that's it. Okay. That should take you to our pricing page. If you register, you get a 7-day free trial. And if you email, if you go to email info@greenbridgeinvesting.com and you email Andrew the coupon code TB Radio, he'll set you up with 50% off your first month. We usually run that special on our podcast if you watch the podcast, but I'll mention it here if we have some new listeners. Okay, so anyway, if that link doesn't work, then try it in another browser, but I don't know if that bit.ly link will work. Anyway, all right, you guys. So do I have any other questions? Great questions, everyone. Great participation. Do I have any other questions? Any other markets or anything you'd like to see? So I'm going to leave you with the S&P here. All right. I mean, that S&P closed strong. And anything can change between now and tomorrow. You know, the futures open back up at like 6 p.m. Eastern time or whenever it is. So things can change. But with that type of close, I would be careful with the shorts. You know, it's still aggressive right now. There's no sell signal in place. And, you know, if you're long, I would let those longs at least run until there's some kind of sell signal again in the broader markets. All right, so that's it then. I want to thank you all for joining me for my live stream today. If you have any other questions, again, you could just join us in the chat room. We have a free chat room also. So if a question comes to you, go to our free chat room. We may not answer it right away, but we'll see it and we'll answer it. Okay, we have some people that visit our free chat room all the time. So you can also check that out. Just register as a free member. And as a free member, you get trade of the week. Okay, that's where Western Union came from, right? This is the trade of the week. So you want to get that email? Sign up for that and make sure you whitelist us so that it doesn't go to your spam folder. And each week on Tuesday or Wednesday, you'll get the trade of the week. And then you can work with it from there. All right, everyone, I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you all for joining me. I'm going to turn this off. Otherwise, I'll be talking for 2 hours. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, and I will see you next time. Thank you.